All right, Shalom.
Shalom.
I want to start out by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakak, Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And Shalom to all the Akimatic pushing the word of sincerity and the truth. It's the brothers here from Great Millstone, Atlanta, with another lesson through the spirit of Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai. We're going to go into really just the wicked, evil establishment of America like usual. Through the spirit, we always, of course, starting off with the apostles and elders on down, we pinpoint and identify all the wickedness and the atrocities that this place brings forth, And in order to really know the evil and where it springs forth, you have to go back to the origin of the roots, man. You dig to the roots of the like when you see trees and things of that nature, the root is the essence. That's where it draws all the energy. That's where it draws all the like I said, the nutrients from the water, and it's embedded deeply in the soil. It's fastened in the soil, and that's when where you see the tree flourishes, and branches and leaves and all these different things come forth. But it all starts from that seed being planted in the earth and the roots. So it's the same thing with countries and establishments. In order to know how the direction of the government or the direction of people and the direction of a system, you have to go back to the roots. So, which we're going to go into the roots and the origins of America, which was established by what people are familiar with, the founding fathers, and show that they were all goddamn devils, man. Just to be plain and simple about it. All these people that people, Jake glorifies, we all have. When we was in school, we said our Pledge of Allegiance. Some of us had actually folded the flag, which myself, when I was in elementary, I was a flag folder. They would choose kids. I wasn't just the fucking flag folder for the year, but I got chosen a couple times to fold the American flag. Then you would put it. Then you would take down the American flag. You would, then you would, So, we've been Americanized. We learned the ways and the traditions of America. The Star Spangled Banner, a lot of these different songs of America, by heart. President's Day, the 4th of July was a, big day for, even my family back in the day. It's still even a lot of families, so-called Black and Latino families, they celebrate the 4th of July. And the President's Day just passed, what was that, how many days ago?
Like 4 days ago.
4 days ago. So the energy of just the presidents and paying homage and honor is still in circulation, for the week, and we want to tear that whole vibration down through the spirit of Yahweh by Shema Shah. The scripture says to cast down strongholds, destroying everything that you actually knew or thought you knew about good old America, because this place is a blatant lie.
Yeah.
When you think about your founding fathers, you think about, as people say, of course. But the ones that created the foundation of this America as we know it, you think about good old George Washington. You think about Abe, you think about, who else? Theodore.
Yeah, Theodore Roosevelt. Franklin.
Yep, Roosevelt.
Franklin Roosevelt.
Theodore Franklin, all right. And you think about Andrew Jackson, And you can't say Benjamin Franklin because Benjamin Franklin wasn't the president,
Ronald Reagan.
You think about Ronald Reagan, but just as a side note, because Jake gets simple. They see the $100 bill. He wasn't even a president; he was just a mason.
Yeah.
Which that's a topic for another time. But we just gonna go through the spirit and show how all these different leaders, which we're not gonna go point for point. What president we on? 50 now. Obama was number 49. But all 50 of them have some type of wickedness, whether it's something to, whether it's taxes, like George Washington, for instance, he imposed the whiskey tax. You see, so whether it's taxes, whether it's oppression by to the blacks and Latinos, whether it's gun laws, legislations, anything forming in economics, these leaders, which is not only the president, all right? The president and I'm not trying to be too long-winded, but, trying to just paint the picture, of course. But you have the president, you have the Senate, you have the House of Republicans, you have the different branches of the government, the executive, the legislation, the judicial, which the president isn't just, it's not a diplomacy. We're living in You know, like it tells you in the book of Maccabees how during the time of Rome they had a Senate. So we're living in Rome all over again, where laws and legislations, the president doesn't just stamp it down. It has to go. That's right. It has to go through, elected or selected officials. Oh, same thing, really, but they're selected by the leaders to whether pass legislation and things of that nature, and it goes through what we're familiar with checks and balances. But the president definitely approves a lot of these things that go on as far as they were. A lot of them approved slavery. A lot of them were pro oppression of the blacks and Latinos. They're pro taxing the hell out of Jake. They're pro establishing interest rates, which is a form of usury in the scriptures. They were pro conquering the Americas that people already inhabited, pre-inhabited before they arrived.
Yeah.
And in order to get to the point of living here and calling it America, the United States of America, they had to kill first the Aboriginals or the ones that actually settled this land before they founded this country.
Well, now they say that they're the founding fathers.
Mm-hmm. Which they didn't found nothing. They should really be the fucking the thieving fathers. Because Esau's a fox by nature. He's known as a fox in the scriptures. You have Mount Rushmore, which has the president's faces, like they originated, and they were the first ones to discover America. Then you pay homage to Christopher Columbus, when really all of these are goddamn devils, man. And liars and tricksters, connivers and thieves. So we'll jump into
Let me stop for a second.
Matter of fact, can you read Sirach 10 and 1 real fast? Shot.
This is Sirach chapter 10 and verse 1. It says, "A wise judge will instruct his people, and the government of a prudent man is well ordered."
Right, so a prudent man's government is well ordered, and a wise judge will instruct the people. The judges are part of the government, and back in the day, the judges and the government will look out for the well-being of its citizens. All right, not today. All right, now of course you do have some so-called judges that believe that they're giving justice, and it is certain roles that they play and certain executions that they might have to be, to push off as a serial rapist or a serial killer.
Yeah.
Of course, putting them under is a so-called good deed, which I won't even use that word good deed, but it would be acceptable to put them away. Now, first off, it's still stipulations and ramifications dealing in that, because first off, in the ancient world, we didn't house prisoners.
Yeah, you just put them to death.
You would put them to death. Exodus 22 and 18. Matter of fact, as an example.
All right, go.
Because the law, which you would have the Levites, they would be the judges, and you would have certain judges in the different districts of Israel, so to speak. And if men were to go off, you would have these different men to execute justice and execute judgment. Not in today's time now. They keep prisoners and they lock them away, and they make a hell of money off of them, pursuant to what the 13th Amendment. Involuntary slavery. Basically they're slaves within the prison centers. You got that?
This Exodus 22 and 18. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
Right. So back in the ancient world, when there were witches and warlocks, in today's time, a witch would be, you have necromancers, you have certain stargazers, prognosticators. The scriptures refer to them as such, but you have different people that entertain left-hand spirits, which they call in the scriptures familiar spirits. All right, and those individuals will be put to death. And in a more modern context, as people know, it will be your crack sellers, your drug abusers and users. These individuals that will possess these different substances to keep Jake hallucinated and keep Jake basically in a euphoric mindset to the point where they can't even soberly think. They would be executed. Whether it would be public beheading, whether it be stoned to death. Yeah. We would make sure that those people were banished. That's why when you read during the time of Samuel, it was extremely hard for witches to even get their get their feeling of society. You know, that when Samuel, when Saul went off, he had to go to the find the witch of Endor, and it was a law that witches of Endor were to be banished at that time. You know, because they were, of course, witches, and you know whether they're warlocks and things of that nature, they were evil individuals. You see, but does America do that in today's time? No. You know, you have television shows, television programming, and things of that nature where they actually have witches and sorcerers.
Yeah.
You have these different, since the text, or I'll say the context of the lesson is presidents. You have presidents that have advisors, which a lot of those advisors, just like during the time of Daniel, were witches. All right, they might not subscribe to the religion of what people know today as Wicca, you know, but they exercise forms of sorcery, you know, and they try to project, um, you know, wins, and they try to project things that the president ought to do, so that they can either have more longevity in office, or so that America can actually succeed and live more pleasurably through the elitists, all right, the rich, whether it's putting more taxes on on the poor, whether it's pushing more drugs in your neighborhood. That's why witches aren't killed today, because drugs and the presidential elections and the presidents and the government work hand in hand. All right, you know, as well as crime and all these different things. You know, the government benefits from all these different things. So we're living in a wicked and evil society. All right, it's a little bit more on that. You can read a little.
I have pulled the definition of witch.
Okay.
And it's H 3783, and it's Kashap,
Kasap, yep.
Kashap, and it says to practice witchcraft or sorcery, use witchcraft, sorcerer, or sorceress.
Yeah. Hey, and prime example, commercials. A lot of these commercials don't promote. I never seen a commercial that promotes spirulina, man. I haven't seen a commercial promoting you know, chlorine.
Yeah.
Receive more chlorine. Chlorine has the benefits to ginger. Ginger root is an anti-inflammatory. No side effects, but they push all these different drugs in your face that have damn near thousands of side effects, man.
Yeah. Now that you said that, because you said that it has thousands side effects. It says to whisper a spell, or to enchant or practice magic.
See, to enchant, to practice magic, and to whisper.
Yeah, to whisper a spell.
To whisper a spell. Yeah, and these different drugs, they're spells. That's why when you look at the back of the labels, they got all these damn Z's and S's and, you know, C's, X's.
That you can't pronounce.
Yeah, it was like why are these letters on this goddamn bottle at the end of the alphabet? X, Y, Z, Z's, zizzle. You know, you be like, what the hell? I can't even say this shit, man. They made it. Who created these words? Who created these big, elaborate ass words that you don't even know where to start?
Right.
And then when you read it, or you look up these different drugs, it'll just have you a chemical chart. Then it's like, well, what the fuck is it?
Yeah.
Where does it originate? And the deeper and deeper you go down the rabbit hole, you start to see that it was concocted by this doctor or this devil in Germany or in Europe, and they found this product that might have probably been banned, or it might have been, you know, not even used as like cocaine. You know, which Coca-Cola, you know, their products was originally used as a medicine. All right, it comes from Coca-Cola is a mixture of cocaine and cola nut, and it was used as a medicinal product for like stomach aches and things of that nature. But then they eventually patented it, and they made it a product for general consumption. You see, but really it's a drug. You see, at the end of the day, it's not for your body's benefit. Your body receives ailments and sicknesses when taking these different products, but it's heavily promoted within the government. And like I said, all these different things, you know, might be going into pharmacies, it might be going into all these different aspects of products, but it all deals with the government, the ones that rule over your mind. All right,
Yeah.
the ones that have what they know as gatekeepers, the ones that have access to say stop or go.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't heard President Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Bush, Daddy Bush, Baby Bush, any of these, going all the way back, to the beginning. I haven't heard any of these presidents refute or speak ill against pharmaceutical drugs, speak ill against the bad treatment of our people, and how we should get liberated, and how we should get some type of accolades, or not even accolades, something to get us off the ground.
Right.
The so-called 40 acre and a mule, which that's a goddamn myth. Was being reparations to repair, but the reparation never happened. Right. So how can you, if there's no reparations, how do you repair people? Mm-hmm. They're not looking to repair us; they're looking to destroy us. But you can continue.
Back in Sirach, the 10th chapter, I read verse 1. It says, "A wise judge will instruct his people, mm-hmm. and the government of a prudent man is well ordered. Mm-hmm. As the judge of the people is himself, mm-hmm. so are his officers."
Yeah, as the judge of the people is himself, so are his officers.
Yeah, the officers are going to execute whatever the judge basically tells them to do, man.
And it's a plague of officers. It's really a plague of death of blacks by the hand of officers. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, in today's time, we have access to, these different cellular devices where we can actually record, and it's slews of videos that show that Jake be innocent as fuck when they get shot, man. Excuse my French, but it's the truth. And it's like, how long was this stuff going on? Mm-hmm. Back in the day, we didn't have access to these different cameras, and we couldn't watch the videos. You would mainly have newspapers spiraling, but it would go boil down to what this man says versus what this man says.
Exactly.
And the skin of his color, or the color of his skin would determine if he would get off or not. Mm-hmm. If it was a white man shooting a black cop, more than likely he's going to get off. And that's a fact. That's not my opinion. Each and every person that has a logical brain that's functioning and understands the system and understand how it was created knows that's true, man.
That's right.
What they call it, it speaks about white privilege, man.
Yeah, white supremacy.
White supremacy, white privilege, and a lot of these white supremacists were in the parts of the government, whether, like I said, Congress, whether it's Republicans, starting off with the Ku Klux Klan and these different senates and mayors, and they were pro white supremacy, and that same energy is being entertained and is being I would say, utilized in today's time with these presidents such as Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. But you can continue on.
It says, and what manner of man the ruler of the city is, such are all they that dwell therein.
Yeah, so what manner of man are they, manner of man he is, such are they that dwell in the city thereof. So the people are governed by the leaders. Mm-hmm. That's why you have a government. The word government is a compound word. Govern is the rule, and mentality, your mental, rule over your thoughts.
If I could just say real quick too, and if it's not well governed, then it's gonna be total chaos, as you see in today's society, man. Mm-hmm. It's the condition of Slovakia, or how America was created. It wasn't well ordered, man. Mm-mm. Of course. Because it was the Isaiah the 10th chapter, man. Through the decrees, man. Mm-hmm. So those decrees is still what's the word I'm looking for? Still present in today's society. So it's still gonna be wickedness, man. Thousands of years, hundreds of years later, wickedness is increased.
Yeah, your different bills, your Bill of Rights, and your Constitution, that goes all the way back to the beginning. A lot of policies that presidents passed when they actually owned slaves, and a lot of presidents were racist, man.
Yeah.
So we're gonna actually go into the article and read a little bit on it. Through the spirit.
You just want me to start off with the first president?
You could go into the name of the site and everything too, just to.
This is an article from Alternet.org. The title of the article is "The 6 Most Evil Presidents in U.S. History." Mm-hmm. It says, I'll just start off with Andrew Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
With Andrew Jackson, Old Hickory, our seventh president, was beloved by the common people of the United States. He was a populist who railed against the federal banking system, a man who grew up poor and climbed the ladder to ultimate power,
Mm-hmm.
a war hero.
Yeah, he was a war hero. What? A war hero. Now let's question: who did he make war with?
Mm-hmm.
The Native Americans.
Yeah.
He was known as the Indian killer.
Mm-hmm.
But why is he praised for the war and the gestures that he did, or the extremely aggressive gestures that he did towards innocent people?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it founded and it helped shape what we have today.
Yeah.
You know, which with the Native Americans, they have so little, and these white people have so much, thanks to individuals like Andrew Jackson.
Mm-hmm. And if I could say too, like me and the brother was speaking before we cut the camera on, Andrew Jackson's face is on a $20 bill,
Mm-hmm.
and what people praise his money, man.
Yeah,
You know?
you had Nas. He had that song "Dead Presidents" back in the day.
Mhm.
And he said, I'm down for." I forget how he said
They
it, but
said I'm out for their presidents to represent me.
I'm out for presidents to
Yeah,
represent me.
Presidents to represent me.
Hey, and see Jake, which we know we use this money. The scriptures, speak about using the world, don't abuse it. But we know the origins of this stuff, man.
Yeah.
It's really a talisman. It's really a devil's. These are no more but little witches' amulets, man.
Mm-hmm.
The individual from the front to the back to all the different symbols on it to the buying power is all witchcraft. It doesn't have no purchasing power. It's fiat currency. It's not backed by gold or silver, and the man that's on the front of it is out to get you, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a goddamn fucking goblin.
Right.
Or he was out to get, or whether it was you directly or your forefathers, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be frank, a lot of Jakes that were oppressed were related to us. Whether it was great grandfathers or grandmothers or uncles, especially here in the South.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've a lot of our relatives. That's why even in the South we take things like slavery, and I mean, not saying the other states don't.
It's
but,
more of a rebel spirit here.
Mm-hmm.
In the South.
Yeah, we don't. Jake don't play them type of games down here, man. But you got simple ass Jakes all over the place, of course.
Of course.
But it's an energy, which this is really the founding, the South, where you had the New England,
Mm-hmm.
You had the Confederate states and things of that nature, the wars that took place from the Confederates and the Union. It's a lot of history that took place here in Georgia, which Lord willing, maybe do a lesson or so on some of that history. That U.S. history is extremely important, man. To know what know what shaped the world around you. But you can go ahead.
It says he was a slave owner who believed in the morality of owning human chattel.
Yeah, so he believed in the concept of chattel slavery, which honestly we do too.
God.
Hey, shit. Every establishment believes that people should be used to work, for the growth of economy, and that's economics. But the difference is the Lord established it where some people were to be priests, leaders, kings, judges, and others were to be slaves, handmaids, peasants. Like it speaks about how Moab was a washpot, and these people, which are natural degenerates, they didn't receive the blessing. Going back to Esau and Jacob. So they don't, by right, they don't have right through the Heavenly Father to put us in slavery. But we know, of course, through the Spirit we went off, and Esau had full access to do with us as he pleased.
It says, although many of our early presidents owned slaves and felt similarly.
Read that over.
It says, although many of our early presidents owned slaves and felt similarly.
Yeah, so similarly. So the previous slaves, which Andrew Jackson was number what?
The one?
No, his president, the seventh president. The ones before him were slave owners also. It didn't just start with Andrew Jackson. He wasn't just pro keeping Jake bound. He wasn't the only one that had that philosophy and that process of thinking. The good old boys back then before him had the same mindset.
Yeah, and if I could just say too, just like today they have the the G20 meetings or whatever. They was getting together, having group meetings on owning slaves and how they can do this and this better back then too, man.
Back then too.
You know.
Yep. And when they were getting together, they were dropping the N-bomb left and right. Saying nigga this, nigga that.
Yeah.
They had this quote where I forget it was the president or it was one government official. They were saying how Negroes stink, and it just speaking all kind of shit, man. Because when he saw in these powers and he's in your face, when you got cameras on all that in his face, he's well spoken, very eloquent, flatters with the word, charming, so to speak, charismatic, But in the background, he's talking the most shit. He gets back to that real Southern white supremacist mentality. But you continue.
It says.
Or wherever you're from, whether Esau's from Texas or whatever president, they get back into that real, that real raw slave mentality. You continue.
It says what set Jackson apart and places him high in evil president ranks was his actions against Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
Simply put, Andrew Jackson never met an Indian he liked or felt obligated to respect.
Obliged to respect. Yeah, so when he seen natives, and it's the same thing with us, he was like, man, look, I don't like you. What's that's called? Prejudice. He was prejudiced. He was prejudging individuals before he even knew them. And a lot of those Native Americans were very, very kind-hearted. A lot of them took in whites. When you go into the original settlers, the Puritans, and the Pilgrims, they fed them. They made sure that they actually understood agriculture. They made it where, their winters wasn't as harsh. They actually helped establish shelters for them. They fed them. They gave them their women. They gave them the shirts off their back, basically. And when they turned their backs, Esau stabbed them in it. Such as Andrew Jack.
And these, just like we were speaking before, these are the guys who we supposed to look up to and honor. Why should we have a whole day set aside for a person like this, man?
Yeah, President's Day.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense, man.
Yeah, or the 4th of July.
Yeah,
where Jake is celebrating and popping all kind of guns and fireworks outside. Nigga, you was in slavery.
Red, white, and blue.
Yeah, red, white, and blue. Jake like have the the colors and the icons and having back. I don't know if Jake do it heavily now, but they would have a lot of presidents on their shirt, the George Washington T-shirts and shit like that, or the bill. They have a big ass $100 bill or something like that on their clothing.
Jake just go with the red, white, and blue thing with the stars and American flag. It's more of like an American flag thing now. Do the fireworks and cookouts.
Yeah. Well, I was just saying even as close. But now that's true. But that red, white, and blue spirit, Jake embraces that heavily. Which these crackers and these white folks, they hated your guts. It ain't like I don't really like Negroes. Nah, we hate them. Our job on earth, if we could do anything, is to make sure that your life is a living hell. Wisdom of Solomon 2. Which brothers going familiar with, or brothers not familiar with, speaks about how Esau were to oppress us, and the ungodly lives were to basically depress and oppress the poor. But you could continue. Matter of fact, you could jump down. It's so much good stuff in this.
So much.
Yeah, this is just a read where.
Yeah.
But we gotta just hit the main points of it.
Main points. All right, I'm gonna skip down to the next president, which is Harry Truman. It says famous for the sign on his desk, "The buck stops here." Harry give him hell, Truman. Never.
Harry give him hell, Truman. Yeah. That's what you gotta call him. You gotta give these devils are worthy of the epithets or the titles that people coin them. Harry, give him hell, Truman. Who else do you have? Stonewall Jackson.
Yes. And it fits him to a T.
It fits him to a T. He had during Trump's election, Mad Dog.
Oh, Mad Dog.
Yeah, these devils. See, and they pick the most vicious names too. It's not like they name themselves like in the ancient world we would name ourselves after things that were lively things of life. Even the natives, they
Right, just like like I was about to say, like Native Americans do.
Esau, man, you the devil. He names himself after the worst things possible.
And you can tell it's pride there.
Oh, it's
Nothing
pride
but
there.
pride.
And it's like, who you giving hell? If Harry give him hell, Truman, who you giving the hell to?
Yeah.
Not your own people. To nations that live in your domicile and foreign nations, which Truman is responsible for the bombing, which we'll read. You can go ahead.
It says, Harry give him hell Truman never shied away from the decision to drop the A-bomb on Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Debate has raged ever since. In 1945, Truman ordered the U.S. military to drop atom bombs on the Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Mm-hmm.
Was his action, which literally incinerated many thousands of civilian men, women, and children, and crippled and mutilated many thousands more.
So that bomb, when it dropped, it didn't just hit people that were fighting for the war. It hit civilians too, and it mutilated them. Men, women, and children. All right, they had deformities. They were sick. The crops and things that they ate, they were just regular citizens that just wanted to live off the land and live a regular life and didn't want to even interfere or meddle with, the politics of individuals. But they were caught in the crosshairs, because they were, victims of war, And Esau didn't have any sympathy and say, let's just deal with the ground troops, or so that we don't have to kill off any of this. Truman said, "Look, we dropping that bomb, man."
Yeah.
He was probably shaking, rubbing his hands like Birdman. He said, "Well, I've been wanting to try this."
Like a video game.
Like it's a video game. Like who gonna shit? Before I'm out of this office, I'm finna drop this bomb. I mean, I don't know exactly the time of his presidency, but that was impactful, man. Who else dropped a bomb? Name another president that dropped, something as devastating as the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You can't name.
He dropped the bomb in 1945.
Mm-hmm.
So it had to be
World War II.
Yeah, World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So it says,
and that was the end all be all of World War II, because if I'm not mistaken, it was 1939, 38, 39 to 45, and after that shut everything down. And really, if I'm not mistaken, which brother's going to, they basically just ceased after dropping the first bomb after because you had Little Boy and Fat Man. If I'm not mistaken, after Little Boy was dropped, they was done. They just dropped the other one just to test out some more. Like, shit, we already dropped one. Let's just see how this one works, But you can continue.
You want me to skip down to the next person?
You can skip down.
All right, the third was William McKinley. It said, when most people think of William McKinley, our 25th president, they are most likely to think of one of those presidents who got assassinated, which was in 1901, making way for the ascendance of Theodore Roosevelt. But McKinley was also a man with blood on his hands. The blood of hundreds of thousands of Filipino people.
See that? You hear that? Esau, you got a lot of blood on your hands, man. From William McKinley to all that. I don't even want to, I ain't even got to name them individually. Andrew Jackson, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, all these different presidents that you think of as leaders, and as, when you think about Abraham Lincoln and you see him in a top hat, or you see George Washington with the rolls and things that is there, you like, that seems like a cool ass president.
Yeah.
If you don't know no better.
Right.
But when you really start going into their track record and studying these guys, you be like, God damn, this is one of the evilest men that ever walked the face of the earth.
Exactly.
How the hell was he the leader?
Right.
Because he was the best candidate, and a lot of these presidents, they were pro-elitists. They were pushing the plans of the banksters, and they were the best candidates to destroy innocent people without actually feeling a certain way. They were basically like, robots. When you were president, you damn near like a robot. That's why really they're over the military. What they call it? I forget the title that is coined over the president's chief of command or something to that effect.
Chief ambassador.
Yeah, well, when you chief over the military, it's because they're really over the military. But really, in order to sit in those positions, you have to be real numb. You don't give a fuck about, people when you're a general or you're a leader in the military. Of course, you have care for your own, but when it comes to shores and enemies, you're gonna do whatever it takes to kill them and to rid the enemy. You turn into a damn Terminator, and that's how these presidents are. And we reading it. We reading so many examples, and we ain't even really going into we touching here and there parts, but we ain't really digging and diving deep and reading president for president. Reading, it's too much time. It's too much sins. It's too much wickedness. But you continue.
It says at the conclusion of the Spanish-American War in 1898, in which the United States defeated Spain, McKinley found himself with the question of what to do about the Philippines. The Filipino people had expected to be given their independence, which they had fought with Spain over prior to the war. Instead, McKinley decided that we could not leave them to themselves. They were unfit for self-government. So it says, and they would soon have anarchy and misrule over there worse than Spain's was, and that there was nothing left for us to do but to take them all and to educate the Filipinos and to uplift and civilize and Christianize them.
Same tactic.
Yeah, same tactic. Why are they worried about how the Filipinos running their country, man? When it's stuff over here that still has to be put in order, man.
Yeah, because it's all about conquering. Like I was just looking at the Panama Deception, which, if I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been Roosevelt. I might be lost in time. Excuse me if I'm wrong, which president. But building that Panama Canal and assaulting, because at the time, if I'm not mistaken, that land wasn't even called Panama. It was a part of Colombia, but they built that extension so that they can extend both waters. What is that? If I'm not mistaken, the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean, and that was to harvest a lot of commerce, to go through that strip, exports and imports. They marketed off of that, and before they actually did so, they had to make war. They had to conspire against the Colombians. Same thing with the Filipinos. So this is the same dog, old dog. What is that? You can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's the same thing with this white man. His same plots and schemes, and always trying to blame them. It's how the fuck is it everybody's fault but the United States?
Right.
America has invaded 90% of the world, so everybody's wrong but the United States. And what does everybody have in common? That it's the same person, which is the so-called white man. He's the culprit. He's the devil. He has to be. If not, where and who is he? Job 9:24.
Exactly.
Continue.
I'm going to skip down.
Yeah, you can skip down.
It says, I want no prisoners. I wish you to kill and burn. The more you kill and burn, the better you will please me, said one of McKinley's General Jacob H. Smith.
Yeah, and a lot of these generals were even worse than the president.
That's Sirach the 10th chapter.
Yep.
What we read before.
Because the generals are more hard-nosed, and they execute what the president says. See, the presidents, they keep their hands clean. They're not going to do the bloody work. But the generals, their life is blood. They sleep, eat, and shit the battlefield, man. They've witnessed bodies being blown up, heads being cut off, chopped off, people being captured and tortured. So their minds are, in order to be a general, you have to be semi-twisted, man. Yeah. You have to already, in order to cope and not even have, because you have regular citizens that might go to war for a couple years and they coming back post-traumatic stress, man. Shell shock like they've been warring for over 50 years.
Exactly.
But you a general 30, 40 years in the service, 20 plus years. And some of them get up there to 40 years, 50 years, damn near, fucking 100-year-old, might be an 80-year-old general and things like that. I'm just giving an example, but in order to be like that, you have to be really hard minded, man. You don't care about people. You get to a point where it's just, whatever is told to you, you're gonna do it. You know, it's like just like with mobsters. You have top mob guys, and you have people that just go and execute. You know, like you had this one guy, Sammy the Bull. Sammy the Bull killed so many damn people it didn't make sense. Which he has an actual interview where he's speaking about it because he actually got off through snitching on everybody in the mob. But that guy was vicious, man, and he was just your local street thug. How much more these type of guys that take the plans to sweep through nations, countries,
Exactly.
you know. But you could just read the last ones. You don't have we ain't gonna go into the fullness. Brothers can read it when they get the time, of course. They feel the need to. Reagan.
It's Ronald Reagan. It says today's Republican Party may remember the Gipper as a saintly figure.
So you look at Ronald Reagan as a saintly figure. You know, he's one of the most popular, easily one of the most popular presidents of all time. Continue.
It says, but it is doubtful that many in the gay community share the sentiment. In the 1980s, an unidentified disease began decimating the gay community. And in 1981, it was identified as AIDS.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, which brothers could look it up, before it was called AIDS, it was GAIDS, which it was gay, I think gay immunodeficiency, autoimmunodeficiency syndrome, something to that degree, because it was attacking mainly homosexuals. And you had this one guy named Robert Gallo, which it's a quote, not saying it's actual factual, I believe through the spirit it is a fact, but it says, I deliberately created AIDS to kill the black and Latino communities. You can look that up, Robert Gallo. You see, and AIDS and a lot of these different diseases were created and planned, whether it was spliced in a lab by some fucking mad scientists, but it was created by the government to attack our people, and of course it was mainly it was triggered through homosexuals, and they mainly plagued them to make it as a culprit, because you can't say, get black people only get this disease, then that would show that it's actually deliberately used to kill black people. But it made it seem, because truthfully speaking, they said, two men having unprotected sex with each other increases the disease or creates AIDS. That's not true. AIDS isn't created by, because you had homosexuals since the beginning of time. Exactly. So why the fuck it pop up in the 80s?
Exactly.
It should have popped up during the time of Sodom and Gomorrah. But now it pops up. That doesn't make sense. But people don't question and think about these things. And that's not being biased, because, homosexuals should be put to death any damn way, But it was created, and they use these homosexuals as they weaponize the disease on them and use them as cattle to spread it forth. Because homosexuals, a lot of times, they deal with men and women. And most homosexuals that have AIDS are blacks. Yeah. Blacks and Latinos. But continue on.
It says, while not specifically a gay disease, it was the homosexual community as well as the
intravenous
drug users that was primarily infected with it in the United States at first. Reagan's attitude towards homosexuals was well known. While campaigning for president in 1980, Reagan referred to gay civil rights. My criticism is that the gay movement isn't just asking for civil rights, it's asking for recognition and acceptance of an alternative lifestyle, which I do not believe society can condone, nor can I.
Which, in all honesty, he wasn't wrong for that. He wasn't wrong for his sentiment that he felt towards homosexuals and things of that nature, because they're filthy. And the only reason why the world accept them now is because people market off of it.
Yeah.
You make a lot of money. The LGBTQ, plus community.
Yeah.
That's a
$1 billion industry.
That's $1 billion industry, man. They're sponsored by multimillionaires, billionaires. You have multimillionaires that are a part of that community, billionaires that are a part of that community, and they're in the face of every goddamn thing. They have their own flag, they have their own celebrations. And when they have these different celebrations all throughout America, these gay prides, you don't think money is generated Fags from all over the world come for these gay pride events to eat, drink, and indulge in debauchery. You know. So, like I said, and it still goes back to your presidents. You know, because it's two sides of the coin. You know, even though he condemned homosexuals, that doesn't make him righteous because there's still a lot of things that these.
There was still a motive behind why he was doing it too.
It's still a motive behind it because as well as like if these guys, like white supremacists and these devils, they don't just hate gays. Like they say, we hate we hate niggers, we hate spics, we hate Jews, you know, and gays. So it's not just one people that they despise. It's multiple people. And the main people they despise, if they could get rid of gays, if they had a choice to get rid of gays, blacks, Jews, or Latin tribes,
yeah,
if they could choose, a lot of them would choose blacks and Latins. You know? Ain't that some shit? But you could read the last. Was that the last one or one more?
It was two more. Actually, that was only four.
Well, you could just read who the last two is, then we'll just
The last two was Andrew Johnson and James Buchanan.
Yeah, so brothers can read about James Buchanan and Andrew Johnson. Was the 17th president. Whenever you get the opportunity, but we're gonna go into the scriptures because, like we just said, the track list runs deep.
Yeah, that was just only 6, and we only covered 4 of them.
Yeah, we didn't even cover 10%. Well, partially about a little bit over 10%, but we didn't cover 25%. It's 50 presidents. 50 of 25% of 50 is around like what 17, 24. Yeah, around like 17. We didn't even get 25% by the way, so to speak. Somewhere around there, excuse my math. 12, it's 12 actually. 12, 25, 50. So we didn't even read 12 presidents. We didn't even read 25%, and we just went through track records of destruction, of homosexuality, and how they deliberately, basically destroyed Jake. The Filipino massacres, the atomic bombs. What was the first one? Andrew Jackson with the Native American killings. And like I said, the list goes on and on and on, man. It's just all about the depth of the research, because that's why Scripture says, the more knowledge that you consume and understand, the heavier your heart is. And we're in the house of mourning right now.
That's right.
But you could get out Proverbs 29. Or matter of fact, yeah, read that Proverbs 29, and we'll just close it with that second. Because it's plenty of scriptures that go into the ill nature of leaders. It always speaks about woe to the leaders. Yahweh Shah condemned the leaders and the governments back then, from the Egyptian to the Babylonian government. We could go list for list. These different government, the Greeks, the Romans, the only government that somewhat supported us and that was giving us a helping hand was the Persians and the Medes during the time of Xerxes and Cyrus. That's where you have Purim, and you have us rebuilding the walls. In the temple you have Ezra, Nehemiah. And you also have the book of Esther, and that was really during the time of our captivities where we had a little bit of progression. But when the Babylonians came in power, they destroyed that. The Greeks came in power and oppressed us. The Romans came in power and oppressed us. And the deadly wound of Rome being healed now, we're being oppressed again. So we need salvation, man. We need to get delivered out of this captivity. Scripture speak about it would be in time in Daniel where they will wear out the saints, and we all worn out, man. I heard this artist say, when she died, it was actually Nipsey Hussle. He said, like a year is like dog years. He said you like 20, basically looking like you 40 and some change.
Oh yeah.
And that's how it be. The stress levels be up, your hair be receding. Like, goddamn, man, I'm still shit. I just became a grown man.
Knees be
hurting, arthritis. You like, how the fuck I got? Well, he just said it was this article just going into the drop of your sperm count, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So we at the end, man. We have to get out of this place. You got that?
It's Proverbs 29:2. It says, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bears rule, the people mourn."
Yeah. So when the righteous are in authority, which we want a righteous government, man. If it was righteous, why are we mourning so much?
Exactly.
Why do we look at this? Our outlook of life is hell. Why is the suicide rate constantly jumping? Why is it an opioid crisis where people taking all these antidepressants and drugs? You know,
It's actually a movement, man.
that's a movement.
Pill popping, sorrowful. Being sorrowful and wearing black. It's a movement, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? Because the wicked are in authority, man.
Wicked our authority.
You know, these presidents, these rulers, man.
Yeah, because if people actually live life and experience the essence of paradise, travel, had access to, because it's even damn near impossible to get out of this goddamn country, man. It's not easy to travel. Some people travel, but for the most part, you know, you actually travel and you see the beautiful waters and all that is therapeutic. You wouldn't even think about drugs if you actually were truly living.
How we travel nowadays, shit. When you come back, you be in a more depressed state than before you left because you see what you can actually be living like versus what you actually living like, man.
Mm-hmm. That's why social media it even spikes the drug use.
Yeah.
Because people see the outlook of damn, that's how life really is. Damn, we ain't shit. My whole life is fucking working a 9 to 5.
We ain't even got clean water.
Yeah, we ain't got clean water. We're not eating clean. You know, everything we living house to house. It tells you in Isaiah that's a curse. Compressing these boxes, paying top dollar like these are fucking high rises and things of that nature. High rises in New York, according to our financial, the ratio of your money, your income rent ratio. You pay a large percent for these blocks, man, and it's to make the rich richer, keep the elitists elite, and to keep you dirt poor. All right.
That was it on Proverbs 29.
Yeah, you can read that. 2 Ezra 14 and 11.
This is 2 Ezra chapter 14, in verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "For the world is divided into 12 parts, and the 10 parts of it are gone already, and the half of a 10th part. And there remaineth that which is after the half of the 10th part."
That ain't what I wanted, but that's actually a good scripture too, which goes into really we're basically in the last quarter of this thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really actually 2 Ezra 11 and 44, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 Ezra 11 and 44. Yeah.
Time. 2 Ezra 11 and 44. It says, "The highest also looked up upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled."
Yeah, so this is the proud ass time. This is the time of haughtiness. You know, people are lofty minded. You can't tell them shit. You know.
Proud times.
And these are just your commoners. But it's really dealing with Esau's mindset of being an eagle. Because you had Jake that protested against slavery. Jake that protested civil rights and things of that nature. And the presidents weren't even looking to hear the voice of the poor. You know. And if you were to, protest aggressively, then they would send damn near like the SWAT team out to the dogs to sick you. They would have the hoses to spray you down, and they would literally, excuse my French, but beat the shit out of you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just for voicing out your grief. If you're in a place where you're compressed and you're oppressed and you're in a depression, and you want to tell the person and they punch you in the mouth for telling how you feel because you're speaking out, who's wrong? You know, and that's really how America does blacks and Latinos and Native Americans. We just read about Native Americans. Yeah. Native Americans are so off the map that you don't even see them.
You don't even see them.
They're basically extinct.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not trying to be humorous, but it's damn near. It's not a lot of natives like how it was back in the day. You know, of course they don't live primarily in Georgia or in the South because the Indian Removal Acts and Trail of Tears that push more Midwest. But they supposed to be all over the place. Mm-hmm. You know, but you continue.
Verse 45. "And therefore appear no more thou eagle, nor thy horrible wings."
Yeah, and it says, "Appear no more thou eagle." The eagle represents the emblem or the status quo or the symbol that America houses. Obadiah speaks about how they ascend as the eagle. Mm-hmm. And if I'm not mistaken, it was Theodore Roosevelt, if I'm not mistaken, or Reagan. One of them spoke about how they believed that America shouldn't have the symbol of the eagle because it's such a filthy and foul bird. It's a scavenger. It's just vicious. It's unclean. It's the perfect.
proud.
It's the perfect bird to symbolize America. That's why the Lord
Yeah.
called it the eagle. And eagles are, which the elder brother Ratz did a lesson how eagles are dropping out of the sky and dying like hell
From
now
lead poison.
from lead poison. And that's a big thing though, because lead poison was a major fall of Rome.
Mm-hmm.
And lead poison in eagles, that's heavy symbology. That's one of the main things that was crippling the people was lead through the pipe systems. People were getting all kind of bodily pains, and they were basically getting amputated and extremely sick because of poison lead in their water supply. But you could continue.
It says, so I lost my place. Verse 45. It says, and therefore appear no more thy eagle, nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers.
That's the government. It said the horrible wings, because the wings of the eagle is partially where all its power is. Three main things the eagle has as power is the wingspan, which helps it ascend extremely high, the claws or the talons, as people know it, to grip, tear, and that beak. You know, that beak is powerful, and these birds be big as shit too. And then when they come down and swoop, the power of gravity, you know, helps the descension of that animal. And the higher it is, and the further it drops down, the swifter it shoots down. You know, but the Lord is jacking all that and destroying it, man. This is the fall of this eagle. You know, the Lord is shooting down a bald eagle. That's why it says that in Luke 10 and 18 that I have seen Satan as lightning fall from earth. You know, continue. And that represents what? The establishments. Because America isn't that old. 1776 on now. You know, it's not a very old system. But it's damn near aging. You know, it's aging like spoiling like milk. You know, you can't keep milk out for long. It's gonna get spoiled rotten. Same thing with America.
You gotta throw it out.
Gotta throw it out.
It says, nor thy malicious heads, nor thy hurtful.
The government, the malicious heads, the heads that work malice. And we're not the heads of this government. We're not the captains of the ship. You know, you have the capital, which the capital goes back to the word captain or cap, you know, which represents the heads. And the capital of the government is where the heads sit, which the DC isn't even a part of the United States. If I'm not mistaken, it's its own city state. When you look it up, DC, London, and Rome, Rome is not a part of Italy. London is not a part of was it England, if I'm not mistaken? You know, London's not a part of England, and DC is not a part of the United States. It's its own entity. It goes by its own laws. It has its own private, its own private system within a system. That's how Esau pushes. It's like pushes his own his wickedness underground. But you continue.
It says, nor thy hurtful claws, nor all thy vain body.
Nor all thy vain body, continue.
That all the earth may be refreshed.
Yeah, so when this eagle and the vain body and the claws and all these things get destroyed, which is the fourth beast, Rome being restored, falling, what happened? That all the earth may be restored. Everything is gonna go back to a store. The word store is to store back. Everything is gonna like you have renewable energy. Like for instance, if you like for instance fast. If you fast, your body starts to starve out and it starts to restore itself. You know, it puts itself back together. It rebuilds itself. Same thing happens with lands. If you stop fracking and sucking all the oil and things out of the earth, it'll store itself back. You know, so when this man is out of power and the whole earth is at rest, it'll be able to rejuvenate. It'll be able to recover. You know, continue.
It says that all the earth may be refreshed and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her.
Yeah, and that's what we're waiting for, the hope for the judgment and the mercy. You know, and we'll receive our land back. The land of Israel will actually be restored back to its back to the days of old. Everything will be eaten again, and it'll be paradise. You know, but you have to go into through the spirit the wickedness that goes on here and prophesy against it, and pray that Yahweh Shema Shah takes this place out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so this is just something we have for you, Akim. Hopefully, you brothers are edified. We're going to end it by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai by Hashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom, Akim.
Shalom.